set up this company called Espresso Espresso Mushroom Company. We make these grow your own kits.
Pass them around.
And these are mushrooms. These are oyster mushrooms grown on coffee grounds. So it's kind of like a recycling initiative, but it's also a business in its own right. When we first started, the plan was to grow mushrooms in the city and sell them to local businesses, restaurants and such. That was good. It was a bit troublesome because we didn't have any money at all, so we didn't have any space. We didn't have anything basically. So instead, we decided to do these kits because you need a lot less space, and it's basically the same idea. And yeah, so we came up with these kits about 3 months after starting, and we're still trying to improve on them now. So that just sort of shows you don't need to have something perfected to start making something from it. You can start with something, and you're going to continually improve something anyway. So there's no point saying, oh, I want to do it, but I can't do it quite yet. I need to just get this little thing right, and then I can do it. My advice would be just to start, and it will soon become pretty apparent what you need to do. So yeah, since then we started with this one here. Is the pearl oyster. That was our initial product, and then we did that for about a year, 2 years. Just only this. It's the only thing we did. And we suddenly realised we're going to all this effort to get all these people to our website to buy one product, which is a bit weird, really, because most websites sell more than one thing. So then we started thinking, use this idea on other things, and we found these amazing oyster mushrooms, which is a tropical species that we can also grow on coffee grounds. And so that was our second product. And then, like, our whole idea is trying to make something out of something most people throw away, because everything has a value, even if it's not necessarily obvious to start with. So this is coffee grounds, people are throwing it away. So then we said, okay, we've got this one product made from coffee grounds, what else can we do with it? And that's when we heard about this local woman called Georgiou, who's been making these seed bombs, which is like these little parcels where you've got a seed, or a variety of seeds plants that work together. And so we collaborated with her, and she now uses the coffee that we use to grow our mushrooms on. So if you see from our waste, from our company, there's a waste product of, I'll start again. Once we've grown mushrooms on the coffee, we harvest the mushrooms, and then we've got it's called the substrate. It's kind of like the soil, and that's our waste stream now. So then we were like, well, let's make something out of our waste. So now we give our compost to Georgiou, who makes the seed bombs out of it. So it's kind of, our whole idea is like a big circle, and then from that circle you get bigger circles. This is kind of the idea. And then now we've just launched this range of actual coffees, drinkable coffee, nice coffee. It's not just drinkable; it's actually really good. And that is made with the help of the company who give us all the coffee grounds in the first place. So our business has basically come about by working with other businesses, by the people who are doing stuff. All I see us doing is putting these blocks together, really. So the coffee company Small Batch, do you know that in town? It's quite big. That's the company who give us all of their coffee grounds, and now they've designed two different coffee beans, different roasts for us, and so we're now selling those on our website. So we started with just this one product that we didn't even really mean to make, but we kind of had to, because our original idea wasn't really working. And then from that one product we had the seed bombs, and then working with the same principle of using people's wastes, we got the actual coffee beans to sell. And basically now we have a few different products. It's actually becoming something of a range, and now we have this range. We're finding it really good having a website, because as I said earlier, we had a website and it was just load of work to get people to come to your website, and then once they get there, they're just buying one thing. So essentially we've kind of expanded the range from which they can buy from, and that's helped us to employ extra people, get more space, get more equipment, make everything better basically. That idea of working with other people is something that we're really keen on, partly because it's half the work. I mean, you'll find a lot of people, like when you go around talking about your idea or whatever, you'll find a lot of people who say, oh yeah, I love that idea, but I don't know anything about it. But I do know about this, and this is something that you don't know, or I didn't know anything about. So for example, if I wanted to launch a coffee range, I wouldn't know where to start. Like, I like coffee, but I'm not like a connoisseur. I wouldn't position myself to make this amazing tasting and well-sourced coffee. So instead I've worked with a company so we're helping them out by taking their grounds, because they have to pay for it to go in the bin anyway. So we're helping them out and they're helping us out, and together we've got two products that we're both involved in. And it's kind of this idea that is kind of really, it's actually surprisingly, it's got legs kind of thing. It can work for a lot of different situations, I think. And so that's like sharing your skills, seeing what you can do, seeing what they can do for you, and then between you making something new it's less work for both parties involved, but beneficial for both parties, more beneficial than it would be on your own. So my advice would be, if possible, work with others. And work on the subject of working with others, I found other people just incredibly helpful. You'd be surprised, like from watching TV and The Apprentice and stuff, you think it's all, looking over your shoulder or whatever. It's not my experience at all. You say what you want to do and someone says, oh, that's amazing. And you say, oh, thanks. And then like you've got their help, and if they need your help, then you'll help them out. And I found personally that people will really go a long way out of their way to be helpful to you. Sometimes just because they want to, or maybe they just like the idea. Or they might just like you, So if you're nice to everyone you meet along your way, I've always found that actually can get you a lot of things. Like for example, we had this problem the other day where we had 4 pallets of stock we needed to send, but they didn't have 4 pallets worth of space on the lorry, and normally they'd just drive away. But when the driver arrived, we were just having such a laugh together. He was like, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll just work an extra hour, I'll drop this one off and come back with a new lorry, and everyone was happy, And he just did that because we gave him a cup of tea and had a chat with him. So you'll be amazed at how, and that's the thing, like, I think you can get intimidated out of doing something. Like, there are so many more reasons not to do something than to do something. And that's quite scary, especially at the beginning of a project. It's quite a scary proposition, because you can think, oh, I haven't got this hasn't been done yet, I'm worried about this guy. And then, you actually talk to this guy and he's more worried about he's more worried about you than you are about him, you see. So a lot of it I find just is in your head, and actually when you start to be honest and open with people, then they're nothing but honest and open back. So that's something I'd learned. When I first started, I was a bit like, oh, maybe I don't want to tell this coffee shop what I'm about to do with their grounds. But when I did, he was like, oh, you can have all of them, like every day, for the next 5-10 years or whatever. So I was really surprised about that. So people are really helpful, and don't be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, you just won't know. Sometimes you might get a negative response, but that just means you have to ask a different person. So yeah, if you don't ask, you won't get. And I think, like I said, it is easy to sort of despair and say, oh, it's such a big idea I've got, and I'm just a small person trying to do this little thing, or this big thing. But how do you start? Well, you start by doing the little things that make a big thing. If you think about it, like that's how everything is made. Like everything from a product to like a person, we're made of atoms that work together to make a bigger thing. any one of those things is pretty simple, really. So it's like a business. You think, oh, how am I going to do this? And then you say, right, well, I'll start with getting some help from someone. So you find someone that you can easily work with, you get on well, and then you've shared your problem with someone else, and you've sort of halved your problem, really. You've now got half a problem, but you've got two minds working on it, and that's just amazing. It's a great feeling to have someone else working with you on something. So if you can find someone to work with, do. But if you think maybe, equally, having said that, it is important to work with the right people. So don't jump into something. I know that sounds quite contradictory, but I guess, sometimes things are. So what else? Oh, questions. Any questions?
Did you start off the idea just yourself or with a group of people?
Yeah. So
and why is it mushroom?
So basically, I read about the idea when I was studying for my dissertation, and I just read about it in a book, and I was like, really? Like, I don't believe this. So then I was like, Google mushrooms, coffee grounds. I was like, oh, right, okay, the book's not lying, it's telling the truth. And then I said, okay, coffee grounds, mushrooms, England, nothing. So I was like, oh, okay, all right, so, it can be done, it's not being done, and I've got nothing to do. That was basically how I felt at the time. I just finished university. And that's, so then I was like, I didn't want to do it on my own. I started talking to people. I spoke to my brother about the idea, and I spoke to my friend about the idea, and they're both working with me now. So 3 years later, they're still working on it, so doing it with other people in a team has been really important. But equally, sometimes it will just be on you. Like, you can have all the help you can get, but sometimes you have to do it. You have to be the person who says, oh, do you want to work on this thing? Or you have to introduce the people, But once you've got, like, for example, tonight, like, I wouldn't normally be able to leave work this early, finish about 8 or 9 usually, and start at about 8 or 9. So normally, or I say normally, maybe this time last year I wouldn't be able to come, I would have had to work. But now, like, everything's nice, everyone knows what they're doing, everyone's happy doing it. I could just leave and the team will get on with it.
So do you have like a shop and are you working with a team of how many people at the moment?
At the moment we are myself, Nick, there's 7 of us. But for the first 2 years there was just 3 of us. So it's only in this 3rd year we've started employing other people. We've got 2 people full-time, 2 people part-time, 3 people part-time, and 1 person and me, kind of all the time.
So the coffee ground, you need a coffee ground to do your shop, your mushrooms.
Yeah.
So did you just look for shops that are doing this coffee, and you went there and said needed a
I literally just walked in and said, oh, what do you guys do with your coffee grounds? And they're like, oh, throw them in the bin. And I was like, okay, cool, because and that's how it went. And then I said, I pointed out that it actually helps them as well. And they're like, okay, yeah, it's recycling, yeah.
So then now, what are they bringing to you? Because you're working together now, stuff you said.
Yeah.
Do they need anything from you as well? How do you share it?
For their point of view, they're the only cafe in the south of England that recycles all of their coffee grounds. I can say that with pretty much confidence. I know that there's another project that turns coffee grounds into ethanol, or fuel basically. But I think they're based mainly in London. So in the southeast, they must be one of the only brands of coffee shop that recycles all of their grounds, and that helps them, But also now they actually sell our products in their coffee shops, so they actually are getting a margin off every product sold. So they're actually making money out of the situation now as well. And from us, it was just a natural evolution. And like I say, you think, at the time there wasn't anything obvious for them. But that's what I mean, like, that's no reason not to ask them. I asked them and they were like, yeah, of course you can, yeah. It was only later on that they got benefits from it. So at the time they just wanted to help, basically.
So is your product nationwide? Or it's just based on the south?
Yeah, it is, yeah. It's nationwide, but we sell online.
Can you make this the last question, please?
Do you have a last question?
Do mushrooms grown on coffee grounds taste any different to ones grown on regular mushrooms?
Much better.
Does it have caffeine?
We're testing them at the minute.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably not is the answer, but possibly a trace amount, which is what we're looking into at the moment. Yeah. There's another question maybe.
Like getting a whole new market, energy mushrooms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Morning mushrooms. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I was going to ask regarding finance. You get support with that starting?
How did we start? Yeah. Well, we actually entered a competition at Sussex, and that was how we got the first bit of money. It was like £1,000. That was enough if you make it go quite far to experiment to the point where you can say, okay, I think I know what I'm doing, like at a very basic level. And that was actually, it's enough to take a punt on, really. And then my brother got made redundant, and we just used the money he got from his old job, and he got the sack. And so yeah, that happened. Other than that, we did actually spend quite a lot of time applying for grants, and we didn't get any of them. So now we just don't bother at all. We were quite surprised by that. I wouldn't necessarily say you won't, but like a lot of people have success with grants. We haven't had any. But maybe you will.
Time is up.
Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Holly. So I'm doing a Masters in Sustainable Design at the University of Brighton. Let me put my stopwatch on. So a bit of background about me. I'm an avid adventurer. In 2008 I became the first woman to skydive over Mount Everest, and that expedition raised $300,000 for Global Angels, a charity that helped children in the Himalaya. In 2009 I rode 1,000 kilometres across Mongolia on semi-wild horses in just 9 days. And that expedition raised £70,000 for a charity called Mercy Corps. And then last year I summited my first 8,000 metre peak, Georgiou, which is in the Himalayas, and it's the 6th highest mountain in the world. And that was quite a grueling challenge, 38 days on a mountain. So I've done, in regards to business, I've done quite a few different things. I worked in New Zealand for quite a few years as a free-fall camera flyer, filming people jumping out of aeroplanes. And that led on to me building an e-learning program for students learning to skydive. And I spent a total of 5 years working on this e-learning program. And I felt very fortunate because I got investment to take it to the next level. And so I was project managing and working with designers and developers. I was designing on it also. But it was very exciting to see something that had started off very small and an idea in my head to a very professional looking platform. So the highlight of that e-learning program was I won a prestigious e-learning age award, and I was up against Sky, Ford and Legal and General, and it was at a very smart hotel in London, and they patted me on the shoulder and said it's a real what's the word, you've done amazingly just being shortlisted just to be here. So when I won it, their jaws just dropped and they were like, who on earth is this person here? But that helped me to sell it. I sold that on to skydiving companies, and I sold the code to an aviation company. And after 5 years, I think I'd had enough of that. Like, it was quite all-consuming, and it was time for a different challenge. which is actually when I did my Skydive Everest expedition, sort of right after that. I thought I'd take a break. So then after that, I've worked self-employed for the last 7 years as a jewellery designer and maker. At the high point of my profession so far, I had over 20 stockists, sort of mainly in New Zealand and Australia and over here. I was selling through my website, but I got to a point where I was just spending all day, every day, making in the workshop just to fulfill orders. And I decided that wasn't really what I wanted to do. There wasn't any time for innovation and creativity. So I decided to put my business on hold and come and do a master's to deconstruct every part of my business and really try and figure out what it is I want it to offer and why. So my passion is these nuts, vegetable ivory. It's a nut from a palm tree from the South American rainforest. It's from a tree that's called Phytoelephus, which actually means plant elephant in Greek, which is quite ironic considering its similarity to elephant ivory. It's sustainably harvested. It falls naturally from the tree. They collect it from the rainforest floors, and it's left to dry out naturally under the sun for 3 months, during which time it becomes extremely hard, so hard that it can be carved. It was once a thriving industry, the vegetable ivory industry. At the beginning of the last century, pre-World War I, 1 in 5 buttons in America was made from vegetable ivory, but that got superseded by plastics. So, for my masters, I've sort of gone in a bit of a new direction than just making jewellery, and I've made this necklace. So this is 96 elephants, laser cut in vegetable ivory. And the reason that there's 96 elephants is this is how many elephants are being poached in a day in Africa for their ivory, which is a pretty shocking statistic. So this is an infographic necklace that presents a physical commentary on the devastating impacts of the elephant ivory trade. One of the elephants is made of brass because commonly the bullet shells that the poachers use are made of brass. And then there's one elephant facing the other way. The reason for that is because I wanted to sort of integrate a bit of a narrative into the necklace. But at the current poaching rates, the elephants will be extinct in 10 years' time. So this is to sort of say that it's not too late, hopefully, to turn this crisis around. So this necklace forms part of my bigger exhibition, which is 35,040 elephants on a wall, and that's how many elephants are poached in a year. So it looks like this. So each square has got 96 elephants, and one square represents 1 day. So there's 365 squares. And then there's 4 red light boxes, and they significant because 4 elephants poached an hour, 96 a day, 35,000 a year. So I want to take this exhibition to China, because they're the biggest ivory consuming country. And I'm proposing vegetable ivory as a more sustainable alternative to elephant ivory. A recent survey showed that 70% of the Chinese population don't know that ivory involves killing an elephant, because the word for ivory in China means tooth. So this exhibition, it's not about assigning blame or using gruesome images to shock people. I've tried to be more sophisticated in my approach, and it's equally as shocking. Like when you see this exhibition, 16 metres of elephants, it's, some people that came to the exhibition just cried. It was that moving for them. So, going forward with the exhibition, trying to take the take it to China, and I've donated this necklace to the Sheldrick Trust, and they're an amazing charity who do a lot of on-the-ground work in Kenya with orphan elephants through poaching. So I'm hoping to get out to Africa as well to see what work they're doing, which would be amazing. I've also been shortlisted for the Winston Churchill Fund, which is about going to South America to meet directly with the harvesters and the farmers that harvest this, and meet the artisans, because my ultimate goal isn't me sitting in a workshop all day long, it's collaboratively working with the harvesters and the artisans in South America and setting up a social enterprise over there. So this Winston Churchill Fund will fund 8 weeks abroad, everything but beer, to really get stuck in. I became a little bit of a geek whilst writing my book, and contacted lots of palm tree specialists. If I hadn't been a master's student, I might not have had the confidence to contact professors and leading academic figures in their field, but they were incredibly helpful, flattered that you bothered to email them, and extremely passionate about what they do. So I emailed 10 of them, and 8 of them got back to me within the hour. Well, not all 8 of them, but within the day. And extremely helpful, and they've sort of told me where to go in South America and who to meet, and they're going to help me set up all the meetings, etc. So I think it's an important point that don't be too rigid in what you're doing. Like, I didn't expect a year ago to have a wildlife conservation campaign that incorporates my jewellery as well. Also, to me now, it's not about just making jewellery that looks nice and is colourful, and it's about designing something that's got a real meaning and a really strong message behind it. So meaningful design. So that's sort of informing my practice now. So I've taken a bit of an unexpected turn, but I'm really embracing that, and I think that's really important to have lots of opportunities present themselves, because you're open-minded and have sought other avenues than just doing the same old thing every day. So I liken running a business to climbing a mountain or doing an adventure. You've got to get people to invest in you, not only financially but emotionally as well. You've got to raise the money, so the same with starting up a business. It's all about teamwork. Certainly on a mountain it could be the difference between life and death. I don't look at it quite like that with business, but again, I think it's about utilising other people's skills. Like, I don't think you can do everything on your own, even though I do try to do most things. You don't want to fail. You definitely don't want to fail on a mountain. There are extreme highs, sometimes extreme lows, and sometimes it's a real slog. But I think it's about being dedicated, being knowledgeable in your field, and making it your business to be knowledgeable as you can be, and believing in your idea. And yeah, be prepared for the unexpected. Don't be afraid to explore. So like going back to this, I'd never have got to any of this if I hadn't sort of been open to exploring. And then my top tip, because Claire said we have to have a top tip, is passion sells. Sorry, I've got something in my... Passion sells. People buy into your passion. I think that's got to shine through, and I think if you're not passionate about it, then it's difficult to get people to invest in you. Any questions? I feel like I'm an interview here.
Hey, Holly, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the
Feel free to
speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, thank you for raising a lot of awareness. And to me, I see like you mainly, most of the time, the awareness of the campaign that you approach or you campaign, it's like you're quite a soloist, isn't it? To towards all these things that you have done.
Yes.
So, what's the advice like? I mean, you put yourself out there. I mean, in like climbing the mountain, you put yourself in that spot. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you put yourself in danger.
5 minutes left.
And,
5 minutes.
how is that sort of what gives you the motivation to do that? Because it's not easy.
Yeah. Well, I guess for the adventures, I guess I'm motivated by, well, like I said before, not only doing it because it's fun and it's lots of adrenaline and it's cool, but it's not all about just self-indulgence. I think it's about doing something that's extreme and going to get lots of media attention, but for the benefit of something greater. So raising money for charities and using it as a platform to do great things for other people. So but in terms of the adventure myself, I just enjoy doing an adrenaline junkie. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just get a real buzz out of doing ridiculous things.
And if you don't mind, my second question
Yes.
is, so you said 70% of the population.
Yeah, I saw your eyes go up when I said that. Yes.
Yes, I'm Malaysian myself,
Yes.
but well, that's a huge number of
Isn't
people
it?
that purchase,
Yep.
elephant tusks.
Yes.
And what do they do with it?
And they make ornaments and hairpins.
Just for display.
Yeah, the rhino horn in Asia is ground up and put in wine because it's an aphrodisiac, supposedly. The
And
reality is it's no different than me grinding my fingernails up and putting it in the wine, but the myth around it is, that you've got strength of the elephant, it's good for medicinal reasons.
okay, so more like a remedy.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
So to sum up, Malaysia, of course, we have got like a rainforest and we have got
Yep.
a lot of palm production. So if you want to know more about it, you
Yep,
can
yeah,
chat later.
absolutely. I'll
Yeah.
definitely have a chat with you. Sure. Yeah, no problem. Feel free to touch the ivory if you want to. You don't want to. Izzy shares a workshop with me, so she sees the
too
nuts
much of it.
every day.
How did you raise money for charity?
Sorry.
How did you go around raising that much money for the charity?
That's a good question. I did lots of fundraising evenings. I did an auction, did lots of public speaking, so I'd go and do an after dinner talk. So I was sort of raising money a lot after the adventure, so I was chatting about it. The auction was good. That raised a lot of money. It's all about targeting the right demographic as well, so being in the places where people are quite happy to part with the cash. Okay?
Is it within the UK that you sort of raise the money?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. All of it was in the UK. But yeah, just keep doing different events, but the public speaking was a big one. Yeah, because people love, like I do a lot of speaking, and not that you'd probably think it, because I'm not ever giving this talk, but I've got some amazing photos from the trips, so people love, seeing the photos as well as listening to me waffling on. Yeah.
So skydiving,
Yeah.
that's like jumping out of a plane?
Yes. Yeah. Got out at 30,000 feet.
Okay.
I actually fell out of the plane.
Then you get a parachute that comes.
Yeah. I've got a photo here. I can show you.
So, how did you get into this skydiving? Because I take it this was not your first time doing it.
No, I've got 7 years skydiving experience before doing that jump. Wouldn't recommend that one for the first one, but worked in New Zealand as a camera woman, and so yeah, when I saw the opportunity to become the first woman, and the first person was 3 seconds in front of me, the plane had never flown to that altitude. It was an opportunity I couldn't miss, and I was able to get sponsorship based on that, being the first, being a world first.
So that's something that I also really wanted to do,
Yep,
So
you should.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's a
obviously
week
not
course.
this high,
You
but-
learn for a week. It's a week course
Okay.
to learn to skydive. It's expensive, working in the sport's a good way of getting your jump numbers up without paying for it. So when I was as a cameraman, we were doing like 12, 14 jumps a day, every day. Never do a skydive on New Year's Day. It's not safe. Never do a skydive on New Year's Day at 6 o'clock in the morning because the tandem masters generally haven't been to bed, go straight into work, and yeah, I wouldn't recommend that at all. Yeah, no, it's an amazing sport. But after a while, I wasn't using my brain. It's not creative, jumping out. I mean, it can be, but day in, day out, year after year, it's a great job, but it's fun, but you're not really using your brain. So that's why I moved on.
So on your jewelry, last question, on your
Yes.
jewelry business, so what's it like right now? Are you, what's the turnover like? Are you making profit?
Yeah, beforehand, yeah, absolutely. I was making profit, but like I said, it was unfulfilling in the end. So, but yeah, absolutely, I wouldn't have been able to continue with it if I wasn't. But yeah.
If you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
how much did you sell your e-learning business for?
I can't answer that. Money in fair words, but a fair amount.
Yeah. Was it worth the
Well, to
effort
give you an
that
idea of the
you-
investment that went into it,
Can you finish your last question, please?
Sorry?
£100,000 was invested into it.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot. Like I wouldn't have been able to find 100 grand myself.
Yeah.
Just lying around, you know. Yeah. No, it was a big old program, that one. Yes.
When you started, how did you manage to do your accounts and tax return and all of that?
I got an accountant because I'm not very good at doing all of that sort of stuff. So again, finding people that have got the skills can make that happen. I set up a limited company purely because this e-learning program, I didn't want to get sued by a student skydiver that had said, you know, your program told me this, and now whatever. So, but I think for the jewellery, sole trader would have been absolutely fine. But yeah, I mean, well, Izzy's just setting up now, and there's lots out there, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you just kind of learn as you go. I mean, I'm
but there's
lucky.
lots of like business links. And
Yeah,
all those
definitely.
Sort of,
Yeah, there's loads of like stuff on the tax, like websites and stuff.
yeah, and Beepurple, I think, are fantastic, aren't they? At helping out.
You just got there.
My name is David Lane. I run two mobile app development companies. I graduated 10 years ago now. I'm doing a computer science and AI degree up at Sussex University. I formed the business partner myself and two friends from the university, and we all general software development business. We got into mobile apps in sort of 2005. And obviously I took the episode in 2008, which is great because we can take advantage of that. Everyone wanted mobile apps, no one could do it, so we pretty much charge what we wanted, which is great. We've sort of progressed from there now. We do some client work, but most of our work is actually our own creative ideas, producing. There's two sides of the business. One is games, and one is the non-game side of the business as well. We've got a team of 8 up at the Sussex Innovation Centre. And yeah, that's all sort of production based, so we've got things in-house. In terms of you guys, in terms of what sort of stage are you at? Have you got anyone got business, got ideas, got businesses up and running? Okay, you've got a bit idea or?
Yeah, business, trying to get outside.
Right, okay. And in terms of what sort of types of businesses are they? Digital businesses or? Digital? Okay, what sort of business? Oh,
During the process of growing,
having to hassle with
So I ended up selling
digital products or physical products? Great. And in terms of, see, I'll go over some things I've done, but in terms of, has anyone got what particular challenges that some people are having at the moment? Funding, money, mainly money. Okay. In terms of, how do you mean in terms of experience?
I'm a fresh graduate.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, like a company that survived that long, how would you like copy them? Have like competition out there. So
So I think that's a good question. So I think from our point of view, one thing you think to focus on is really focus on what sort of you know. I guess for us, there's so many things you get bogged down to when you're running a business in terms of doing accounts, HR, all that sort of type of stuff. And if you can really utilise the sort of network of people so you can actually focus on what actually adds value to your sort of business. So for us, we need to know this information, but we outsource and we have people that do all our bookkeeping, all our accounting, manage all our HR. So I can actually just, because what makes money is I need to know what's the next great app, what's the next creative app, not sort of what's the next HR legislation. I need to sort of be aware of that, but that's not really adds value to sort of my business. So I think really utilising a network of sort of people and resources so you can really focus all your time on what adds value to your sort of business.
we need to know the market.
Yeah, so in terms of marketing, so in terms of yours, is it a digital product or is it, do you know what product is sort of what you're working on at the moment? Okay. So in terms of market research, I think is crucial. So really understanding your market, what your competitors are, what stands you out, what's the value, what value do you add over and above your competitors. So I think that's really worth spending some time doing that. I think it might be that you're sort of the cheapest, it might be that actually you offer the best quality product, but really understanding that is really important. So yeah, in terms of any other problems people are particularly finding, in terms of copyright, okay, so that's someone what mentioned previously. So yeah, that's for us in particular. We haven't registered any patents, but we've done quite a lot of trademarks in particular. One thing I would say is they're quite complex. This protection is quite complex, and I think it can be quite expensive. Particularly from our experience in terms of trademarks, is you don't just get one trademark that covers you the whole world. It's EU trademark, US trademark, sort of different regions trademark. So again, we use a solicitor to actually settle that up for us. Again, it's not particularly cheap. I think for our trademarks, we've spent overall, in terms of all the trademarks, now probably about £10,000 in terms of trademarks that we have. But in terms of for us in particular, you need to look at how useful that is in your business. What does it protect you for? Because in my opinion, a lot of these things is they're only useful is how much you can afford to actually protect it. Because anyone can infringe it, but then it's there for you to actually protect it. So you need to actually have that money to actually protect it. But for us, it's been really useful with apps in particular. If you have a successful app, everyone tries to use the name, copy the name, use a similar name to actually get their own traction as well. But with us, we can use our trademarks and shut anyone down. So I think it's definitely something worth looking at. Again, it can be quite expensive, it can be quite expensive. So just really make sure you understand what value it will add to you as a business.
Regarding licensing, so selling your apps, agreements, by downloading this you agree for?
Yeah, so I think in terms of where we are at the moment, the direct to consumer, for the business, a lot of that is handled through the app stores themselves, so we don't really have to do a lot from that sort of side point of view. I think if you're working with sort of clients or licensing a product or a piece of software, for example, to a client, yeah, you need to be very clear in terms of generally working with clients. And so what we were learned on a bit previously is making sure that you're really clear what you're going to be offering them, particular timescales maybe that you're going to be delivering that in and how much you're going to get paid. I think as a small business, it's sometimes, if you're working with bigger clients, you almost want to try to bend over backwards, just to actually, you're scared that actually if you don't treat them completely with respect, is that they're actually not going to use you anymore. So it might be in terms of actually not putting the paperwork in place, it might be what we found as well early days, we always thought we're scared to chase invoices. Actually, if we're hassling them and chasing them, they won't give us more work in the future. But for these guys, they've been doing it long enough with loads of suppliers. It's their day-to-day business. I wouldn't be scared of that. Yeah, definitely make sure that if you're licensing or working with a client that you get some good paperwork in place. It's actually expensive. It's sort of an email saying that they agree to. But it's definitely worth getting that in place, I think. And sort of linked to that as well is something we personally had is if you're starting up a business really, and you're going into partnership with other founders, really understand who those people are. Is you're going to be working 24/7 with them. It's going to be long, hard days. It's going to be ups and downs, and us in particular is I started this up with two friends from university, and being friends with someone that's completely different to running a business with them. So really understand that their passions, their motivations, their direction is completely aligned with you, and make sure that early on, because obviously I think it can cause friction and problems down the line. Myself in particular, a couple of years after we founded the business, we had quite a big falling out with one of the co-founders, who was trying to use something to buy him out, and it was quite an arduous, frustrating period. We managed to get through it, but obviously what we said about 6 to 12 months in terms of obviously we had to multiply him as a shareholder and things like that. So again, linked to that, sort of, as I was saying earlier, is what in terms of having legal paperwork in place, working with co-founders. I think personally it's crucial to sort of get directors and shareholders agreements in place. I know it's quite easy to sort of maybe put them off and not do that, but I think one of the things that we did very early on is sort of day one we got those in place to protect ourselves if anything did happen, and it did happen, and it was bad enough with these agreements in place, so that if we did that, then we actually deny that. So I think it's worth looking into that. If you are working with other people, you might go into the best intentions, even your best friends, but that soon breaks down if there's any issues or any problems. So I think that's something that we consider.
What have you done? What are your plans for it?
So in terms of mobile apps, we have done Waitrose iPhone app, Money Supermarket's iPhone app, and we did quite a lot of stuff with football clubs, so we did Tottenham Hotspur's iPhone app. We currently do football clubs iPhone app at the moment. So in terms of our own work as well, we launched an app called My Secret Folder, probably never heard of it, but it's an app for iPhone where you can import and securely hide photos and videos, and at this peak that was the top 5 UK paid and US paid application as well, which is pretty good. So that's our main sort of focus now, is more our own creative ideas, and doing a lot of hard work.
With the weights,
so a lot of how we used to work is we worked in our industry, so you work with their agencies, for example. So we worked with exclusively the agency that also had mobile agency, their agency worked in terms of produce mobile apps as well. So how it used to typically work is that we've done other things. Do you remember the Walker's Flavours? They did those weird flavoured crisps as well. We did all their mobile apps for that as well. So they would have an agency in charge of that campaign for them. We'd be doing the websites and TV adverts and media, and then we would say, actually, we need someone to do the mobile apps. So they would speak to us then, and we would take care of that all for them. So typically how you work is mostly they'll go in and try to sell a website or a TV ad or anything like that. And then they say, oh, by the way, do you want a mobile app as well? And then they'll get that, their commission set, which allows them to do that as well.
Tell you a little bit about who I am. My name's Chris. I run an audio-visual production company based in Brighton, down near the marina. We've been running for about 4 years. I started off running it in my spare bedroom, just me, and now we have 2 audio and video studios down near the marina, where we have about 6 people working, and it's grown progressively over the last few years. So I started off the company trying to, essentially what I wanted to do was write music for TVs and films, and I didn't really realise when I left university that everybody else leaving university doing a music composition or music production course wants to write music for TV and films, and everybody who's done one of those courses for the last 20, 50, 100 years is writing music for TV and films and has far more experience in it. They already have a set amount of clients and a reputation which they built up over years, so it's incredibly competitive and very hard to compete in that market. And also that market has, with the advent of home studios and things like that, the supply of those kind of services has far outrisen the actual demand. So the first year of my company was kind of just spinning in a wheel, really. I wasn't really getting anywhere. I was doing little jobs for about 200 quid for local video companies, doing web videos, stuff like that, which was great for experience, but actually was not really a sustainable career. So there came a point where I decided to put out a marketing video online, and I created a remix video which took lots of different clips from films and TV shows and music videos and adverts, combined them all in a little system that I developed to remix them all in real time. And it got about 1 million views online, and suddenly, kind of overnight, my business turned from being a music composition business to being a video remix business. And when agencies saw that there were a load of people actually interested in this kind of stuff, that I could generate a community around this thing, I started getting much bigger clients. And so that's really been the change in the focus in the business, and now we have clients like Mercedes-Benz, VW, we've done stuff for Bombay Bicycle Club, BBC, Visa, and with those clients comes much higher budgets. So whilst initially we were doing stuff for like 3-figure budgets, now all our projects are about kind of 4 or 5-figure budgets, which has allowed me to employ more people, get proper studios, actually dedicate a lot of time and effort into each of those projects. So when those big companies want to produce something really special, then you have the time and the money to be able to really do that. And with that, you produce really great work. It gets you more clients and the opportunity to do more. That sparked off some interest that actually then snowballed into generating lots of interest and building up new clients as well. So I think a few people, the talks here are kind of going over similar things, so I have a few notes of things that I need to talk about, and if you have any questions at this point, then do chip in. So, the mistakes that I really made when starting up my idea was not really doing enough research. If I talked to enough people, researched the market, I would have realised that actually there are far too many people trying to make music and there are not enough people actually wanting to buy. So my real focus was on trying to mirror my company on other companies doing the same thing. So I looked at the big music composition and sound design companies and thought, right, if that's what people want, I want to try and be exactly the same as them, which everyone else was doing. And actually, what I should have done was try to be different from everyone else. And as soon as I did that, the business started becoming a load more successful. And that's really due to supply and demand, which everybody will probably be talking about it tonight. But the same business fundamentals apply regardless of whatever project or business you're trying to do, really. And one of the main ones is supply and demand. So I think in the last kind of 20 years with the advent of the internet, supply and demand has completely shifted. So whereas my company before would have been producing music for companies locally in Brighton, there might have been 5, 10 other people doing the same thing in and around Brighton. Might have done a few things up in London. That would probably be it, really. Whereas these days, there are 10, 100 million people with bedroom studios making music, and the supply has just skyrocketed. But on the flip side, also the demand for a huge number of different things through the internet and through high-speed communication has completely changed the focus. So my company has a very specific niche in terms of remixing video and taking existing content and reinterpreting it in new ways, which before just wouldn't have been a viable business model. But now we have clients in Europe, in North America, South America, Australia, quite a few in Saudi Arabia, in Asia. So we've developed a reputation by being the company that does one job incredibly well. So if anyone, and really putting the effort into promoting that online, so if any company wants that specific task done really well, then they kind of come to us because we're the only people who actually do it to the standard that we do it at. And the internet and email, and especially high-speed file transfers, has allowed us to have clients internationally. And we've been able to find enough demand for our very specific niche supply. And because that supply is so niche, we can charge far more than we can for anything where there's a huge supply of something, which is why our income has changed from £200 a project to £50,000 a project, and that's really changed the way that our business works. So in terms of a few tips and things for making life along the proper way, which would be helpful, is probably talk to as many people as possible. Coming to events like this is a great sign. I mean, I definitely, when I started my company, just didn't talk to enough people. I didn't, I kind of thought I could just do it on my own and make it up as I went along, which, I kind of didn't do too well. It would have probably saved myself about a year of hassle if I'd listened to more people's experiences of starting a business. I think making business plans is really important. You'll never actually stick to them, but constantly evaluating where you are with your idea and being able to say, where was I a year ago? Where did I think I would be now? How is that different? Where do I think I'll be in a year's time? Where am I trying to be in 3 years' time? It makes you constantly evaluate where you are, because so many industries, especially these days, digital industries are changing constantly. You need to really try and reevaluate where you are. And you know, when I shifted my business focus, that generated a huge difference in the success of my business. We went from having a pitch success rate, so when clients come to us, we actually have to pitch for a piece of work. We used to get about 5-10% of those would win. Now, because it's a really niche area, it's up to about 75, 80, 90% in some months that we win everything that comes through. And that's because we looked at the market and went, there's a need for this at the moment. But that's constantly shifting. Trying to keep ahead of that curve really helps and helps avoid any potential problems in the future. Cool. There are some other more practical things that I would advise. There's some really good online bookkeeping if you're starting with businesses, which is really useful for use. I think called Free Agent, and that has another piece of software that ties into it called Float. And so you can really accurately predict changes. So you can say, right, if I lose one client, how's that going to impact my business? If I hire another employee, what financial effect is that going to have? If I want to get a new office, what's that going to do? Or how much money do I need to earn next month to actually pay myself? Things like that. Whereas when your finances start becoming more complicated, it's really important to free agents. Yeah.
So how can it tell?
So you put in.
Does it make it evaluate itself?
No, it tracks. So Free Agent tracks to your bank account. And then pulls in information. So Free Agent is bookkeeping. So it can say, right, you've spent this much money on computer software.
5 minutes left.
You spent this much money on rent. You spent this much money on paying employees. And then Float, which is a separate piece of software, ties into that and can say, right, okay, so these are the amounts broken down by your expenses and your income in terms of, and then you can make financial predictions and say, right, if I was to employ one more person, how much more money would I have to bring in each month for that to work, which is really useful. So kind of getting your finances really solid from the start or whatever stage you're at. And really making sure you're thinking and planning about future finances is really important. Yeah, pretty much any business I can think of. Yeah, I think there is a certain amount of universal business kind of truths that apply to pretty much every business, and good finances. It's probably the main one, because if you don't have any money, you're not going to